Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Outcomes Rocket podcast. So excited you tuned in to another episode. Today, I have a special treat for you all. He is a good friend, managing partner at IOTECH Consulting, Christopher Kunney. He's a changemaker, a podcast host. If you haven't had a chance to listen to his podcast, Straight Outta Health IT, definitely a hot one that you gotta check out. We'll leave that in the show notes. He's an author and just an incredible person. Christopher Kunney, thanks for joining us today.
Well, hi, Saul. Thank you so much for having me on the program again. It's exciting to be a part of it, and it's always good to see you too, man.
Hey, likewise. And we're just kind of getting through conference season right now. I had a chance to run into you at HIMSS and Vive, but at HIMSS, actually something really special happened, and I want to make sure that we give you recognition and kudos for that. You were awarded Changemaker Award. So talk to us about that award and what that means to the industry and what it means to you.
Well, one, it was great seeing you in both LA and also in Orlando, coast to coast. And I'm especially honored and humbled by being recognized by HIMSS as one of their 2024 changemakers, and specifically being awarded and recognized for my work around advocacy. The recognition means so much to me, and it just really kind of validates the work and dedication I put in to try to make a positive impact on the industry. And again, my passion really is around addressing challenges related to health equity. And HIMSS not only recognized the work that I'm doing through their institution, but also a number of the nonprofits and other associations that I've been involved in to hopefully try to close those health equity gaps as well. So I'm so grateful to receive the award, and it really kept, and I'm again very thankful for all the mentors and colleagues and supporters who inspired me and voted for me, because it was also, I guess that's the other thing about it too. You had to vote on the winners for this award. So it was my colleagues and folks in the industry that felt that I was deserving of the honor as well too. So again, thank you to everyone that did vote for me. And thank you to HIMSS for awarding me the Changemaker of the Year award.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, and I remember when that came through, we definitely voted for you here on the Outcomes Rocket. I put my vote through for you, and I was rooting for you.
Thank you.
So when I saw that you got it, you were on the big screen there at HIMSS, and I was like, yes. When I saw, I'm like, oh, no way, he did it.
Actually,
I was, what's that?
I said it actually happened. Yeah. So
it did. It did. And look, let's connect the dots, right? With the advocacy, you don't just talk the talk, you walk the walk. And a big part of that is the amazing interviews you do with your podcast. So talk to the listeners about what you do there and why.
Sure. So Straight Outta Health IT was kind of birthed out of a lot of idle time during COVID, trying to find something to do and stay busy and stay relevant. And I had actually pitched it to a previous employer that I was working for. And they decided not to pursue it. So I said, well, I've got all this time on my hands. And I had actually done your podcast before. And you said, hey, Christopher, I think you would be good at this. Why don't you consider doing it? And so I actually literally thought about it and said, what's the worst that could happen? And I bottom at it. And so, okay, life is not over. I keep moving on. And so I had a lot of time during COVID to think about what I wanted the podcast to be about. And I wanted it to be a platform to advocate for challenges and issues and individuals affected by healthcare. And this is a podcast not for me necessarily to pontificate about my views, although I interject them when I need to. It really is about the guest and what they're doing in this space, and recognizing them for the tireless effort that they put in to advocate for the underserved, to provide education, knowledge about what's happening in the industry, what's happening from a policy standpoint, and then what they're very passionate about, but more importantly, what their journey has been in healthcare as well too. So I think the most interesting thing about the podcast is listening to their own individual stories and their testimonies. And so we just gave it a shot. And again, thank you and your team for helping me and guiding me through that process and
Of
making it
course.
sound like I know what I'm doing. So, but it's been a labor of love. I didn't think I was going to stick with it as long as I have, but again, it's been something that's been now a passion of mine. And so I'm just so excited that it's gotten the following that it has now. And it's nice when I walk into a conference or an event for folks to say, hey, I like your podcast. I really enjoy it, or to want to be on it now. So I'm getting those requests now. So that's exciting as well, too. And it's just another extension, I think, of what I'm very passionate about, is really telling the stories of people who are impacted by healthcare in either a positive or negative way, and what we can do as individuals to help drive change in this industry.
That's fantastic. No, I appreciate you sharing that, Christopher. And folks, if you're not curious yet, you should be, and you should check that out. And we're going to leave a link to the podcast inside of the show notes for today's episode, so you could check it out. I think you'll be inspired. And you're just so intentional about how you do things, Christopher. I love your posts on the stuff that you do, the progress updates. And so really love just kind of the touch you've put on it.
Thank you. I try to, again, there is method to the madness, whether it's the podcasts or the things that I'm blogging or posting about, or the events that I'm presenting about, or even the work that I'm doing in the community. It is all about how do we continue to transform healthcare and make it better for not only ourselves, but for the next generation as well, too. And so all of it tends to kind of flow and work really well together. And again, those things that I've been very passionate about, like I sit on the board of the Metro Atlanta YMCA. That's 14 YMCAs in our community, and we advocate for a wide variety of issues, but healthcare is a part of that, quality of healthcare. Also, I sit on the local Georgia HIMSS board, and I'm serve as the advocacy chair here, but also sit on the Global Health Equity Task Force at the national level, where we're looking at kind of global healthcare challenges as well. And then I work with an organization called Caring Meds, and we do medical missions to West Africa. So I've been to West Africa and been a part of that. And we're also working with one of the local universities there to establish a nursing program and a telemedicine program to start to address some of the equity issues within that community. And then I'm engaged in various other associations, which I won't run down the entire list, that in some form or fashion are dealing with, closing these gaps in health equity and educating the community about how to get better care. And then most importantly, because I am a techie, how do we continue to leverage technology to be a catalyst in driving better clinical outcomes and closing the gaps on health disparities as well?
I think that's so great. Your involvement in the community is definitely, I think, a really strong suit of yours, and it's making a big difference. And so you've done a lot of different things in your career, from CIO to leader at different businesses, and now you're leading this consulting firm. Talk to us about the focus areas there and key things that you want our listeners to know about.
No, absolutely. Well, I have to first of all thank my parents, who have always had an entrepreneurial spirit and instilled that into me at a very young age. And so I've always kept a little side hustle or a side business, even as I was going through college and in school, and now actively serving as a managing partner for IOTECH Consulting, which has actually been around since about 2009. So I actively ran it for almost 10 years. Although I've worn different hats for different organizations, I've either worn them as part of my consulting practice, or I've taken a little bit of a hiatus and gone back into corporate and carried a business card for various companies, but always kept the company moving forward in some form or fashion. And so at its core, we are a management consulting and advisory firm. We're focused around healthcare transformation. We do everything from IT strategy work to interim leadership, with focuses around things like data privacy and security, rev cycle optimization, cloud services, unified communication, informatics and strategy work, implementation of technology solutions. We advise startups and emerging tech companies on how to bring their products to market. And we actually advise academic institutions on the development of various curriculum in this space as well. I sit on the advisory board for Morehouse School of Medicine's master's degree program in health informatics and bioscience, and also teach part of their pipeline program, as well as I taught at other universities here locally and across the country as well. And then I've been a part of various government agency initiatives, the Minority Business Development Alliance, that focuses on bringing more minority businesses into this space. And I've been a part of an advisory group for the Blue Button Initiative out of CMS as well, too, where I've evaluated technology proposals that have come out of that program as well, too. So at its core, we're here to serve our customers in a wide variety of areas, either helping drive transformation internally in the organization and leading those things, acting as external advisors, and then bringing solutions as well. So it's just not about telling you what your problems are and pointing you in the direction, but actually bringing transformational technology into the solution set to help drive that change as well.
That's great. Thank you, Chris. It really, really just kind of boils down to transformation. It could get technical, and you guys pull up your sleeves and help navigate that. It could be leadership. It could be access and equity.
Exactly. And it's not just Christopher as well, too. So it's a cohort of very seasoned leaders and professionals in this space, and then partners that I've been able to work closely with that bring, again, enterprise technologies to the table. Some who are emerging tech companies as well, too. So I definitely want us to make sure that we're hoping to grow businesses that are in this space, but also working with very seasoned organizations who have a strong credibility and a strong customer base as well, too, so that organizations feel confident that the solutions we bring to the table have been proven, tested, have a track record of being successful as well.
That's fantastic. No, I appreciate you sharing that. In the journey, oftentimes we learn more from the setbacks than the wins.
Absolutely.
Do you want to share a setback you've had that's made you even better than you were before it?
There's so many. I'll touch on one in particular. When I was back in 2016, I was actively running my company. It was probably the best time for my company financially and just the number of clients and work I was doing, but also probably one of the worst times for me personally as well, too. I was flying back and forth quite a bit to California. I was doing quite a lot of work out there. And I won't give all the gory details about it, but I got sick on one of those trips and I flew back home and long story short, went through a series of tests over several months and discovered I had 2 brain tumors.
Holy smokes.
Yeah. And so ended up having brain surgery in early part of 2017. And also decided that at that point, I needed to take a hiatus from running my company actively just to recover and regroup and think about life as well and what's important.
Totally.
And I think through that process, learned that life can throw you all sorts of curves, right? Although, I was blessed and that the surgery went great and it was successful. Yeah. It also taught me what was important about life as well, too. Like any day, what you think is important, my business and the things I was doing could be taken away from me. And so it allowed me to really reprioritize life, family, again, those things I'm passionate about, which is why I probably started pursuing more of the advocacy work I'm doing now, why I started doing trips to like Africa and, Nicaragua and places like that, because I wanted to continue to give back to communities as a result of just my own journey in life. And thank God I was able to have quality health care here in the United States and get some of the best treatment possible. But I've been to places like West Africa where something as simple as malaria or, hypertension or We treated a gentleman one time who had pink eye, and the fact that we weren't there to provide antibiotics, he probably would have gone blind. And so it's just an appreciation of what we have here, and understanding that too much is given, much is required. And so that experience actually transformed what I thought was important, which was growing a business, making a lot of money, being successful, to one now about what can I do to help other people be successful, and help them and help the folks who are less advantaged than I have been in my life.
Yeah, Christopher, no, I appreciate you sharing that, and grateful that you made it through that hard time, and it was defining for you in a way that really, now you're focused on impact and growth, but impact is the driver.
Exactly, and I heard something at a conference one recently, probably a year or so ago. There was a gentleman speaking, and he used the term conscientious capitalists. We can make money, and we can make an impact as well too. And so I really took that to heart and said, and now what drives me is what can I do that's meaningful, that's important, but also if I can make a good living from that as well and help others, why not choose that path versus a path that disenfranchises folks or takes advantage of folks in order to be successful? And so I try to, as much as I can throughout my journey now, to think about if what I'm doing is going to positively or negatively impact the people that I'm involved in, and whatever possible, try to choose the path where everyone wins from the experience and not a win-lose kind of mentality.
Sure. No, I love that. Hey, I was recently in an interview, and they asked me a great question. I think it's appropriate for us today.
Sure.
If you could start a movement that creates the greatest good for the greatest amount of people, what would it be?
There's a gentleman, there's an organization called the Pink Socks.
Oh, yeah, Nick Atkins.
Yeah, Nick Atkins.
And, I know Nick well. He was a guest on the show.
And I ran into Nick at a conference one day, and he walked up to me, and I didn't know him at the time, but he just walked up and said, "Can I give you a hug?"
Did he have his kilt on?
And he had his kilt on. Yes, he did.
His beard and his kilt.
And I was like, okay, this is strange. But, he hugged me in a very genuine way, and you could feel the love, from him, the genuine love from him. And then he exposed me to, the whole pink sock movement. So once you get the hug and he tells you about it, you're then given these pink socks, and now it's your responsibility to go out and find others, disciple to, and bring them into the fold. I think that's what life should be about, right? Is how do you inspire others to be the best version of themselves? And so I think, a movement that would allow me to inspire others to be the best version of themselves is something that I try to aspire to now. I think at the end of the day, leaves those ripple effects that will impact others long after you're gone as well too. And so that's my focus on now. And so I do things like, helping to educate kind of this next generation and pipeline of professionals of color. We need more people of color involved in healthcare and healthcare technology. I try to teach people how to fish versus fishing for them. So, building the pipeline of nurses and healthcare professionals in places like West Africa, so they're not depending on us having to come over and do medical missions for 2 or 3 weeks and go and leave, and they still don't have healthcare. We need to teach them how to create their own healthcare systems, educate them and support them in those journeys, and then advocate for the underserved. I mean, we think about Africa and the continent of Africa and the countries there, in some cases, at third world countries. Well, I can tell you, I can drive 100 miles out of Atlanta, Georgia, to places like Sparta and Albany. And in Sparta, Georgia, for example, I met with the mayor there about a year or so ago, and he says, we actually have no health care in our city. There's not a clinic, there's not a doctor's office, there's not a hospital. They have one ambulance in that community, and they have to drive 25 miles to the nearest healthcare provider if someone needs urgent care. That's an issue, in one of the richest countries on the planet. That I can drive 100 miles outside of this, at Metro Atlanta and still not get health care. And so, we have to take care of our own backyard as well too. And I think it's important for us to, much is given, much is required, for us to find ways to close those gaps, both locally, nationally, and then internationally as well. And so I've been blessed to be involved in various organizations that are focused on those types of endeavors.
That's great, Christopher. No, that's a great call out for sure, and a great focus area for all of us to think about. And so, look, really phenomenal to connect with you. If there's anything you want to leave our listeners with today, what would you leave them with? And if something you said struck a chord with them and they want to get in touch, what's the best way?
Sure. So first of all, check out Straight Outta Health IT, my podcast, and a little teaser. Saul will be on the show in the near future as well too. So check out his episode that'll be coming up soon. I think again, we all have a part to play in improving the lives of others. And so whether it's what I'm doing in healthcare or whatever you decide to do and working with people locally in your community, nationally, internationally, I applaud those who are making that commitment. And I encourage others to step up and step into the game as well. And then we have a management consulting practice. We would love to help any organization that is looking to drive transformation and technology in their organization, whether you're a healthcare provider, a payer, academic institution, government agency, startups, emerging tech companies. We're here to help you in that effort as well too. So don't hesitate to reach out to me. My website is www.iotechconsulting.com. My email address is Christopher.Kunney, Kunney, at iotechconsulting.com. And I'm on LinkedIn. I accept every LinkedIn request as well too. So please reach out to me. I'd love to have you a part of the Christopher Kunney community as well. And if there's anything I can do to support and help those who are listening, feel free to reach out. And I'm happy to do what I can.
Amazing, Christopher. Well, look, it's always a pleasure to connect with you, to see the work that you did. Thanks for being on the podcast with us today. And for everybody listening, we got the Changemaker in the house here. So certainly make sure you check out the show notes on today's episode. Every way to get in touch with Christopher will be there, as well as links to his podcast, so you could take a listen. You will love it. Christopher, thanks for being with us. It's been a pleasure.
No, thank you so much for having me. And thank you so much for inspiring me to take the journey to become a podcast host. Again, audience, this is the man that created this madness on this end. So like it or love it, he's the reason behind it. And I'm so thankful and appreciative of him and inspiring me to move down this path and do something that I never thought I would ever do before. So I appreciate you and your team who are amazing as well.
Thank you, Christopher. We're happy to be a small part of it. So appreciate the kudos there. And again, thanks so much for what you do.
Absolutely. Thank you. Good to see you.